Hello, everybody. Welcome.
Hi.
How are we
Hello.
doing? How are we doing? So this is our second one of 2026, but we did one on Monday, and now we're going to be doing regular Fridays.
Feels
Like,
nice because Friday is like I start to relax a little bit into the
It's like
weekend.
dress down day, isn't it, at work?
it just makes so much sense. I mean, Wednesdays were good, but like these are even better because like you know that you're coming towards the end of the week. It's a completely different vibe, everything else. So how are we settling in? It's I don't know what day it is. It's
Friday.
it's a Friday.
Friday the 16th.
I know. I've never been
We're
so
halfway
busy.
through January.
I know I've never been so busy and stuff. But how's everybody getting on with the new year? EJ, how are you getting on?
I'm good. I'm good. I'm a lot more positive
Good.
than I have been in the last couple of times that I've been on the panel. But no, the I'm good. And I think particularly today I'm happy because I'm expecting my brother from Turkey today, and he
Nice,
has this my 1 year old niece that my children haven't met. So I'm feeling very it's going to be a family weekend. So
nice,
I'm good.
nice,
I'm good.
nice, nice. Loads of jollof rice and eba
And egusi soup.
and egusi soup. And so that's African food. That's when Africans get together. That's how you know that
What
it's
we
a get
eat.
together. Sure. Naomi, how are you? How's your year been so far?
Do you know what? Calm.
You're too calm. You're too zen. I need to come over and take
Yeah,
over.
you're like
I know she's not.
like
I
I
have
imagine you've got your legs folded and you just flew
And she's levitating.
on a blanket.
I've got my little heated blanket. I'm feeling very, very calm and yeah, this is it's a nice feeling. Like things are coming together, slotting into place. I'm feeling good and calm.
Amazing. I love that. Rochelle, how are you? I know that you got home late last night.
I am imagining this time next year I will be like Naomi on my magic carpet, just floating in all zen. But this year is not my floating on a magic carpet year. Not there yet. So I've just been on a 2-day retreat with some of the speakers who are speaking at the Big Festoon
Yes.
in March.
Yeah.
All of the most amazing people. So Naomi, you know Tess and Tess Cope and how amazing she is. But like just some really like such intelligent like people, inspiring people. So it's been, but it was really relaxed. Like we didn't leave the house. We just had our comfy clothes on. We had a private chef come and cook our evening meal. It was amazing. And then I was the last person to leave, and because I've got like an Airbnb, I was like, I just did a little bit of like washed a few last bits of pots and put some rubbish in the bin. And then I walked around and checked every room to make sure that nobody had forgotten anything. Because, and I think this actually fits quite well into what today's topic is. And then I arrived home and I came in the house, left my bags in the car, and then I went to get ready for bed. And I was like, oh, my bags are still in the car. Sent Chris out to get them because I'm not going outside at like 10 o'clock at night in the cold. He goes out, comes back with one bag. I was like, oh, what about my suitcase? He's like, there's nothing else in there. Goes back and checks. I have left my suitcase in Wolverhampton, 2 hours away from me. After I checked the whole house for everyone else for getting stuff, I forgot everything.
Is it going to be easy to get?
Well, the owner's got it at the moment. He lives in Shrewsbury. So I looked how much it was for an Uber to bring it, and it was like £180. But then there's a company that's like a courier, and it's only £30 to get it.
That's not bad.
I think that's going to be the option that I go for. I need to ring him and see when he's available for me to organise it, collecting and everything. But it's not the end of the world. There's nothing important in there. There's a bit of makeup, but I don't wear makeup very often anyway. And there's a pair of trainers and some clothes. Nothing that I can't live without for a little while, but it's just the inconvenience. And the fact that I made sure no one else had forgotten anything and no one was there to look after me.
Aww.
That's hilarious. To be fair and stuff, it's like I would have paid anything just to get it back and stuff. It's like I think couriers are missing a trick there and stuff. So what have I been doing? It's been busy. It's a bit good busy. but I feel like I haven't worked this hard in a long time. But it's one of those where it's like I finish the day and I go, I've worked. Like I get into bed and I know I've worked. Like it's just, and
lot of satisfaction.
yeah, do you know what? It's really good because like I've got a contract client at the moment that I'm helping out, and then I've got this other side of the business as well, and it both have been equally demanding. So I think by Tuesday I felt like I was a drummer and stuff, where I was going just literally getting stuff out. So yeah, it is busy. I was waiting until today because last night I hosted my masterclass, and as soon as that was done, I was just like that, almost like I don't know if anybody else feels it, but it's like you work towards the masterclass and then you're like, stop.
Yes.
It's just stop. Like the sales will come in, they're doing their thing, but stop, like literally. So that's how I feel right now. I'm like, okay, can I go to bed now and sleep? Because everything has been towards this masterclass and what have you. Yeah, and I'm hosting an event on the 29th, a live event. So I'm looking forward to that. And then I'm possibly going straight over to Africa the next day. So,
Oh my word.
so I'm kind of like, yeah. And when I get into that stage, I don't allow myself to freak out or anything. So I'm just sort of like in my own world where everything's just sort of like evolving as we speak. But anyway, enough about me. Today's topic, why do women struggle to put themselves first? Did anybody put this up, or was it me? I don't know.
Victoria, you are
the only reason why I ask is because I know that Helen submitted something, and if I'm honest, when I posted it yesterday, I was like, I don't even know who put it in anymore and stuff. But it's an interesting one because I hosted an event called Ready to Receive yesterday, and the resonance in the room, it was probably the most resonating masterclass I've ever done. Like literally,
watch the replay.
Yeah, like literally, women were going, me. I even had someone send me a message this morning. We're like, oh my god, like we're just so used to looking after everybody else, and we know why. I mean, it's no secret because when you're born, you know you're asked to look after your little brother. You're given a very feminine led role, and I'm not saying it's wrong, right or wrong. It just is. But before you know it, you become the nurturer. You know, and we all do it in different parts. Like if you look at Naomi's like nurturing her dad, you know, and looking after her dad and stuff. And then you've got EJ who's nurturing a charity and her kids and you know, in all of that. And then you've got Rochelle who's nurturing her family and her partner and the kids and stuff. And then you got me who's got no kids, no husband.
Nurturing everybody.
Right. You nurturing husband, not husband, I don't have a husband. What have I got? I'm nurturing my mum and I'm nurturing my siblings. And, you know, it's like my sister will say to me when I'll go, oh, you know, I just need to call Andrew and make sure he's okay. She goes, you do know he's almost 50. I'm like, I know, but, you know, I just want to make sure he's all right. Like that whole thing. What is it? Rochelle, tell us.
What am I telling you?
Why do we? What's your take on it?
I think at the moment you're saying about women in general. I don't think it is all women. I think with like I know in my family, and I think you're this. I think me and you are the same people, Victoria, in our family, where we're the ones that everyone comes to for help. We're the ones that like I cook and everyone comes to my house and I'm like making sure everyone's okay. And then now I've got my business and I've employed my mum and my sister, and at times my dad and my brothers have worked for me, and Chris works for me, and I'm helping everyone else. And then it's almost like I'm at the top of some sort of pyramid and there's no one there. And that doesn't mean that like people do offer help. And I know, Victoria, you told me off the other day because you'd offered me some help and I sounded a bit dismissive of it. And I think I know I struggle to ask for help, but what I didn't realize was that when help is offered, I struggle to accept it. So for example, when I'm in the kitchen cooking dinner and I can be cooking for like 20 people and people are like, do you need any help with anything? And I'm like, no, I'm just like, and then I almost feel myself getting resentful and I'm like, well, why is Chris sat down? Why is he not trying to help? Why is this person not helping? Why are they just all doing this and not helping me? And I'm like, well, they did ask and I sort of just said no. And just like, it wasn't because it wasn't because I didn't need the help. It's almost like I don't want to. I think sometimes it's easier just to do things yourself the way that you know.
Yeah.
Like I know where everything is. I know that the potatoes have been in this long. I know that needs to go in next. Whereas if you've got to stop and take the time to explain to someone else how you want it doing, and then they do it not how you want it doing, and then you're like, then that's frustrating in itself.
Yeah. EJ, what do you think?
I think we were deceived. I think that we were deceived. You know, I think they told us at some point, they told us there's some kind of badge of honor for killing yourself for everybody else. And we believed it and we've run with it for centuries. And luckily, we are in the generation that is waking up to the lie. Yeah. But in every culture, somehow they have told us that it is our job, that everybody should be okay first. I mean, we are naturally nurturing, and that's a good thing. That's a very good thing. But being nurturing to the detriment of yourself is harmful, not just to you, but the people who are going to, like your children, your elderly parents, who are going to need you to be strong at a certain time. Okay, sorry, just a second. Sorry, the plumber is coming. I'll escape in a minute and I'll come back. But it's something that we have been misled about for centuries. African women, you know, you it's like you take pride from being tired. You take pride from looking a mess. But look how shiny my children are, but look at me, I look abandoned. And then your husband, as long as he's fed and he's watered and he has this nice bed to sleep, yes, that's where the pride comes from. But then you have abandoned yourself and you are burnt out and you are resentful. And at the end of the day, you're wondering, you know, why? So that's why it's happening, because we've been fed this thing and we've taken it as read. And luckily, we're realizing that everybody benefits when we are good. Everybody benefits. They get even better when we are good. So luckily, like me, I'm learning how to, because I'm a fixer, you know, like you, Rochelle. I'm in my family. I'm the focal point as well. My home is where everybody comes to. But like I said, my brother is coming today. I've not been in the kitchen. My brother-in-law is like preparing. My sister's doing the hosting, and I've just decided I'm chilling today. I am. I'm going to enjoy the visit like everybody else is. I'm going to rush off and I'm going to come back now because, like I said, the plumber has just fixed the shower, so I'll come back in a minute. See you soon.
See you later. It's really funny because I'm actually having my boiler fixed today. I bet they cancel. I bet they don't come. But anyway, so if I rush off literally for a couple of minutes, then
we'll just keep it going.
Naomi, what are your thoughts?
Oh yeah, I'm very much with EJ really on that, in so much as I think society told us that this was how we needed to be. I also think a lot of us were modeled on busy women. If I look back to my mum, you know, she did everything for everyone. The only time I ever remember seeing my mum sit down was after the Queen's speech on Christmas Day.
Oh, wow.
Like literally, I read, you know, my mum was a theatre sister, a nurse. My dad and her had a B&B. She was just always busy. Even when she wasn't working on shift, she was at the hospital visiting patients out of her own hours. Wow. So I think I was modeled on that, put everybody else's needs first. And yes, I don't have children, have had partners at certain times of my life, but I've done it for like my family, my friends, my career, my bosses, my managers, people, people that I've never met before, complete strangers. Always put everybody else's needs before my own. It has changed, I'm thrilled to say, but that's because of the work that I do. And and EJ used that word abandon, but women that come and work with me, most of them have abandoned themselves. They've prioritized their careers, everybody else to the detriment of themselves. And that word resentment comes up. And, I think badge of honor, I think unless you're kind of like, a bit like Christmas, unless you get to Christmas and you're like, oh my God, I'm absolutely exhausted, you haven't actually done a good enough job.
Yeah.
And I've stepped away from all of that. I don't want the badge of honor anymore. I love the not my circus, not my monkeys, not my problem. I will be a good citizen. I will be a good family member. I will be a good friend. But I am no longer ever putting anybody else's needs in front of mine. And listen, that also includes my dad.
Yeah. So it's really interesting, because you talk about being modeled on women. Here's my theory. So I believe that women are actually modeled on the busy man. And this is what I believe. If you look at any high profile job, one of the things that the men normally say as a group that women can't hear is find yourself a wife, a good girl, like not someone who makes too much noise. Find someone who's going to get the tea on at home. Like, you need to make sure that if you've got a calm home, you'll be calm at your job. And men are actually convinced and almost what's the word, doctrined into looking for a nice girl and stuff. So it's not the woman that makes the heart pound. No, she's the one that ends up being the mistress. This one is the one who keeps everything level, because if she keeps it level at home, then she's good for the business when he comes to work and does that. And it doesn't matter whether he's employed or self-employed, it's the same thing. So all of that, it's like, so then you become the trophy wife, because then it's like, oh, it's my wife. It's one of the reasons why if say there's a president who isn't married, there's a lot of talk about it, because it's like, no, find a good woman. And irrespective of your sexuality as well, it's like, find a good woman, find an opposite sex as your partner. So you can do whatever you want behind the doors, but this is what you show the world and everything else. So I believe women are modeled on that, which is why there's I need to find his name, but there's an attorney, a divorce attorney, American. He is hilarious, and he talks about marriage and divorce and how we're so careless with our lives because we don't secure ourselves when we go into marriage and everything else. And he says that the only people that benefit from marriage and from the good woman thing, where the woman sacrifices everything, is the man. Because the woman doesn't benefit anything from it. Like it's all, like EJ says, we've been lied to and stuff. Like, it's that doctrine. And then the next bit I was going to say is, when I hit really tough times about almost 10 years ago, I can't believe it's almost 10 years ago, I remember having my first I can't afford it call, where I was being asked. In Africa, we contribute a lot to family things and stuff. And I was being asked to contribute to something. And I just went, I haven't got it. And you know what? It was like this massive weight lifted off my shoulder, because I was like, I literally don't even have the capacity to care whether you do what you need to do or not. I haven't got it. And you know what? What I also learned is that if I don't do it, somebody else will. That's something else I learned. And so I literally started taking a step back. And now when I do stuff, I do it because I want to. And I remember one of my siblings once said to me, she goes, oh, you don't nag us as much anymore. You don't. And I was like, no, because in that period when I was struggling financially, emotionally, the whole lot, I realized that you could all take care of yourselves. So guess what? I don't need to, and I don't want to. And it's a really good place to be. Now, does that mean that I've got rid of the need to want to do everything? Not necessarily, but I can stop myself a lot quicker than I did before. That's all I've got to say. That's all I've got to say. And so I guess, Rochelle, you've got a daughter and you've got a niece. Is it nieces or niece? How many nieces have you got?
I've got one niece, but I've got 4 nephews.
Or nephews, yeah.
Yeah,
So from a niece perspective and also daughter perspective, how is there a, what's the word? Are there lessons that you put towards your daughter and niece about what to do or what not to do or what to look for? Or is it one of those where you think to yourself, you know what, I'll just let you navigate life?
So, trying to think if I've ever done anything like consciously around this. But I think what my kids see in the house is Chris is quite an active man around the house. So he comes home from work and he unloads the dishwasher and he loads it. He'll often cook them tea. Like, I'm the kind of mom that if they ask me for a drink, I'm like, yeah, get yourself. And so then they'll go and ask Chris, and Chris will do it for them.
That's not true. She's always doing stuff for. I'm the one who says let them get it themselves. Like Maze will walk in and go, oh, I want something. I'm like, tell her to get it herself. And oh, I'll get it for you.
So it's like probably 50-50. It depends. Usually they ask for things. You've literally been in the kitchen for an hour and they will not ask you for anything. The second you leave the kitchen and sit down to eat something or to have a rest, they're like, can I have? And I was like, oh, I've just sat down. But like when my kids were young, I used to they'd be like 3 and 5 and I'd be like, get your own cereal, like encouraging them to do it themselves. Whereas Chris didn't like the mess that created. So he'd then do it for them. So, and we've probably all got into this habit where Chris is very quick at doing things. So before I'll go, oh, I want a cup of tea. And before I've even had the chance to engage my brain to stand up to do it, he does rush off and start doing these kind of things. So I think because my kids are seeing that, and like we're pretty much, I wouldn't say it's not all Chris, but in this kind of general like mornings and evenings, it's also not all me, and they're seeing that role from both of us. So they're not seeing like my husband John, who passed away. He was very much like he'd get home from work, he'd sit down, I'd be putting the kids to bed, and then I'd come downstairs and he'd be like, what are we having for tea? And then I'd go off and I'd cook it. And sometimes they'd say, oh, it's a bit late, let's just have a jacket potato. So then I'd be like, well, if I'm just having a jacket potato, why didn't you put the jacket potatoes in the microwave? Why have you waited for me to come down and do that? I think if they'd have been brought up with him in the house, they would have got a much more traditional sense of the man goes to work and does the earning and then comes home and relaxes while the woman runs around after him. And they're not seeing that. So I think they will go into relationships where they expect more of a balanced role just from what they're witnessing around the house.
Yeah. How do you think, Naomi, us struggling to put ourselves first by default, I know that some of us are changing or have changed. How do you think that impacts us in business?
Oh, massively. And I can see this because of the journey that I've been on, but also I can see it from the women that work with me. You know, it doesn't just impact one thing, it impacts everything. And I think a lot of that comes down to, from, you know, I'm speaking from personal experience, is that because I always used to put everybody else's needs before my own, it actually did impact on my self-worth. Because I very much felt that my worth was based on what I gave to others.
Yeah.
Not just based on the fact that I am me. And that's enough. So I definitely think, you know, and obviously I was in corporate for a long time, and I definitely think it impacted me in my career and my business and and opportunities and different things, but absolutely in business, because I think when you give to everybody else, as a priority over your needs. It definitely has an impact with boundaries. And let's be honest, if we don't have boundaries in our business, we have a real problem for everything: health, finances, business relationships, all those different things. Yeah, so I absolutely think that it has such an impact everywhere. And I know the women that work with me, they say the difference in their relationships, not just in their intimate and intimate relationships, partners, but actually their relationships with their children, their relationships with their parents. I've obviously been going through this with my dad, and actually, this last couple of years, there's been a lot of times that it's felt like I'm giving more to him than I am to me. And then I've kind of reflected on that and put boundaries in place and done things because otherwise it does massively impact your business, your happiness, your health, your relationships, your finances, absolutely everything.
It's really interesting, isn't it? Because I had one of those no boundary moments this week, which is really interesting because it was a massive highlight. So, I've brought in some people to help in the business and stuff, and they've been doing some work behind the scenes and what have you. And at one scenario and stuff, I've had a lot of people messaging me and, being quite vulnerable and telling me what's going on and everything else. And then I remember getting this call from somebody, and it was just a random call. And everything inside me said, don't pick that phone up. Don't pick it up. And I did. And it was literally someone just telling me everything, and whilst my heart went out to this person, I was very aware. I was like, you didn't schedule this call, as in to me, this is what I was saying to myself. I was like, you didn't schedule this call. You've taken this call. This person has now dumped a whole lot of stuff onto you that you may not have been prepared for and stuff and everything else. I mean, I handled it really well, but when you just go, boundaries in place, like there's a reason why you should have delegated that call maybe to another time, rather than sort of like dealing with it then. So for me, the boundaries were huge, but also with the relationships and how we think. I think that's really important as well. And I've been really, and again, I think I'm quite strict. Like I speak with a lot of conviction when I believe how things need to be, and yet I'm still surprised that sometimes I'm like, I'll pick up that call. Oh, sure, you can talk to me whichever way you like, and I won't react and stuff and everything else. I mean, don't get me wrong. When I turn, it's not nice. It's not. But my point is, and so it's like, I think there's always that need. But coming back to in Africa, especially, I feel like there's a duty of care. Like, and I'm not saying everybody does it, because they don't and stuff. Like, there's either one or two people in a family who are more duty focused more than anything else. But I remember, and I didn't live with my dad, and my dad wasn't dependent on me emotionally or anything else, possibly financially, but nothing else. But I remember, and even now I speak to my mom twice a day. I'll ring her in the morning. She's probably the first person I speak to in the morning, after my prayers and meditation, and she's probably one of the last people that I speak to at night. And that's just to make sure that she's in bed, she's okay, that I'm her healer as well. But here's my thing on this, and this is where I think sometimes there can be a contradiction. And it's not that I don't put myself first, but I do believe it as a duty. When I buried my dad, I knew, looking at his grave, jumping on the soil that, above his grave, I knew there was nothing else that I needed to say to my dad. And that's whether it was positive or not. Like I like everything went in there. And it's probably the reason why I didn't wail when my dad died, because it was such closure. And it's the reason why I still ring my mom today, even when she winds me up to the brim, right? I will take that aside. I mean, I'll let her know, but I'll take that aside and I go, but you're my mom first. And I will put you first, make sure that you're okay and everything else. Because the day you go, I don't want to ever go, oh, I should have said, could have said. I don't want any anger, I don't want any resentment and stuff. I want buried with you. And those are two decisions in my life, for the two people in my life that really mattered to me, that I made. And 10 years down the line, for my dad, it worked really well. So I'm not saying that I'm not wishing my mum dead, but it's one of those things where it's like my mum always says, "Oh God, you're ready to get rid of me," but it's that whole thing of the day she goes, I know that I'm not gonna go anything. So if that means putting her first over me over those periods, I'm good with it. EJ, thoughts? Women. Why do women struggle to put themselves first?
I want to use an analogy, and I just want to pick up from some of the things that you said in terms of like, I heard you mention boundaries just as I logged back on, and how, sometimes you do know how to put yourself first, but sometimes you put your mom first instead. And there's an analogy that I like so much. If you walk into a room and it is clean, it's neat, everything is where it should be, like it's so nicely done, and you're drinking a can of, say, Coke, and you're done with your can of Coke, and you say, "Oh, where can I put this?" And the owner of the room says, "Oh, just chuck it wherever you want." You'll be like, "Oh God, no, where's your bin?" And I said, "Just throw it on the floor." You would be so, "No, I can't throw it on the floor," like, "Oh, where's the bin?" Then contrast that to you walk into a room and it's a mess. Everything is everywhere. It's dirty. It's untidy. There's no order to it. And they say, "Where do I put my can of Coke?" And they say, "Oh, just chuck it there." You will just chuck it there because that's what you've met in the room. And I always imagine myself as the room. If I am able to, how I treat myself, how other people, when they approach me, is how they would want to treat me. If they see that I'm not perfect at all, and I'm one of those people who used to completely abandon myself, I will be overdrawn in the bank and borrow money to help somebody else, and there is still, I'm a work in progress. I'm not out of that yet. So I would completely then in my relationships, romantic relationships, platonic relationships, I started finding out that these people are only treating me the way I've treated myself. They're only treating me in the way that they've seen me treat myself. So now I'm trying to learn, and I'm doing a lot. Naomi, you may know a bit about this. I think you would, and certainly Victoria, you would. But I'm looking a lot at what feminine energy actually means in terms of the receiving, in terms of the, the dark side of it that is, that can control my environment and not chase and not be performative, because that is another African trait that I have, especially if you're the eldest girl. You are, they keep telling you how wonderful that the more sacrifices you make, the more applause you get. Then you have a nervous breakdown, and then that's your fault for having a nervous breakdown. So I'm trying to learn how that when anybody comes into my life, I want them to see that, hey, listen, I'm making an effort here. Don't come and, I'm trying. Look at me. I've dressed well today. Look at me resting. This is me resting. So the people I'm trying to teach people how to treat me.
That's good.
But it's not the way I was brought up. I was brought up to sacrifice myself, to completely give up. "Oh, you're the first daughter. Oh, you're a very good mom to all your siblings. Oh, you are wonderful." And I love the praise. I really like the praise. But I started to notice in my relationships, I'm that messy room, because they will see that I've abandoned myself, abandoned my mental health, my physical health, abandoned everything to go out there to look after everybody else. So I use that analogy in my head a lot.
Is that a thing where they go, "God will bless you"? God will
mother of this family.
Give yourself up, surrender your life and stuff. God will bless you. And you're so seduced this guy. Listen. Yeah, it's just. I moved away from it. I'm so, like, even when I go to Cameroon, I'll walk in and the women naturally go to the kitchen.
Yeah.
I don't do that.
You are so disrespectful.
I know. That like I don't do it. I said no. I said, listen, I'll cook in my own kitchen. I don't do it. And the women just look at you like,
Yeah, badly brought up.
yeah, like you're not sweating like the rest of us. You're not stressed like the rest of us. You're not angry like the rest of us and stuff. It's like, how dare you? You're not a proper woman and stuff. I know these days stuff. It's like I had the audacity not to have children or get married, so there's something definitely wrong with me there. So, and again, it's that whole thing where it's like you've put yourself first. So how dare you? Like
Yes.
if women judge you that you've put yourself first.
Selfish. Yeah.
Yeah.
So moving forward, if you saw, I know EJ, you've got children, but Naomi, if you saw, say, like a 10-year-old, 15-year-old girl, what guidance or advice would you give her? Because she probably won't know what she's doing, but you'll definitely be able to see that she's that person who is sacrificing her own well-being for somebody else's happiness. What would you say?
Yeah, well, I think, so much of what EJ just said really, really resonated with me. It really did, because I look back and I allowed myself to be treated like a doormat by a lot of people. And I'm even talking about family members and loved ones. And I allowed that because it's how I treated myself without, and no judgment on myself, because I didn't know better. Part of that had been modeled. Part of it, I realize now, experiencing a lot of trauma as a teenager, then you are far more likely to need the validation of what you get from people pleasing, which I clearly needed after losing my mum. And I think, if I look back at that little girl who was me, and if there were girls now that I was talking to, I would absolutely say that how you treat yourself reflects out to what you bring into your world. So that can be your business, your career, your intimate relationships, your friends, all those different things. And I think re-education on, and I do think, I don't have children, I don't have nieces, but I am already seeing this next generation, for instance, saw this and heard this a lot at Christmas from, especially on social media, from the next generation who aren't spending Christmas with their families.
Oh, yeah.
Yes.
Because of traumatic experiences.
Yeah.
Feeling undervalued at that Christmas table. Feeling like it might be a massive trigger to their mental health and different things. So I think we are seeing a real societal shift. And that might not be culturally across the board, but it certainly is something I've been seeing, I think, closer to home here, is that whereas you use the word duty, Vic, and I think, a lot of us, and again, I don't think that's cultural. I think a lot of us have seen that as duty, that it's my duty to look after my dad, or it's my duty to provide and to do everything else. I think there's a real shift happening. And I think that there is less of a sense of feeling of duty and less of a sense of a feeling of this is the way we've always done it.
Yeah. It's really funny you talking about the children and everything else, and because it's been really big about kids not spending time at home and this generation. And also I think Oprah Winfrey, I didn't watch the whole thing. She was talking about the fact that it was normal now for people not to see their families for years, like
no contact. Yeah,
people just walk away from. I personally couldn't imagine it at all. I'm still of the very old-fashioned side of where I believe that blood is thicker than water. It's like you still get pulled back whether you want to or not. It's like that stream that pulls you back and what have you. But and I say, but I also remember when I was young, I experienced a lot of verbal abuse, and it's quite interesting because I remember I'd be sat at the table and you'd just be getting it left, right, and center and stuff, to the point where I actually stopped eating on the family table. And I honestly believe that it's one of the reasons that got me to start eating without portions, because I would eat on my own. I would eat when it was quiet and it was peaceful and stuff. So I'd go and get my own food. And I believe that's, and you look at me then and you go, well, you weren't big, you weren't everything else. But I believe that that's what it was, because you can't be doing with it at all. So, and here's the detriment to what we're talking about. Even though we're saying, well, do you know what? We are going to put ourselves first. The avoidance is more detrimental than the actual reality of what's going on. Because when you're avoiding and you're not avoiding strategically, then you end up almost like double sabotaging yourself, because you like I say, I moved away from the verbal abuse, but I then moved to a place where there was no structure. So then you pay the price for that. So it's one of those where I think this is like an ongoing conversation of just maybe points of things to do. So as we wrap up, I'd like for us to like just to go around and sort of like, what are the just literally 2 points for anybody out there who's struggling to put themselves first? What would you say, EJ?
2 points on how people should put themselves first.
Mhm.
Well, if the reason you're not putting yourself first is because you want to make sure everybody else is okay, then they will be more okay if you are at your best. That's the first. Secondly, why are you here? There's nobody that was born for somebody else. So your purpose is not just, we all want to help people. Most of us, I mean, especially the ladies on this call, we want to help people in the services that we provide. But how are you helping? Why are you here? That's my big thing. You're on this planet because there's something for you to do. But the beneficiary of that thing is not just other people, it's you too. God, the universe, source, whatever you want to call it, the higher power is interested in you personally too. Why would you waste that? Aren't you curious to know what could be in it for you?
Thank you. Naomi, what would be your 2 tips?
So, something I will never forget my first business mentor said to me in 2019 was, Naomi, you've got to put your own oxygen mask on first.
Yeah.
And if you think about every time you get on a plane, it's the first thing they say is prioritize your own oxygen mask, even above children and the elderly. Now, what does that say? The very fact that it's you are the priority before anybody else. And I've never forgotten that, because at the time I was an overgiver. I was a people pleaser. I had no boundaries with my clients. They could message me whenever. And he said that to me, and it really impacted me. And, I love my family. I love my friends. I love my clients, but they don't come first.
No.
Because I lost my mum at, she was 52 when she died. And I really do believe a lot of that was because she prioritized everybody else's wellness, health, everything over her own. So that would be my first one, is put your own oxygen mask on. And my second one is, what would you say to your friend?
That's very good.
Yeah, definitely.
Because we're always doing things like, like you said before about kind of like the badge of honor and the victimhood of, I have to do everything. But wouldn't you just say to your friend, leave it, go off and have the cup of tea, sit down, read a page of your magazine. So yeah, what would you say to your friend?
Thank you. Rochelle.
So I was going to say exactly the same as Naomi about putting your own oxygen mask on first, because we do need to be fit and healthy to help other people, and you can't pour from an empty cup. And I know that, I think the main thing that I am taking away from this call, you were all talking about boundaries, and I literally felt like I wanted to just slide under the table, because I think that is something that I've always struggled with, and I still struggle with now. And I'm hoping that as I get older, that's the thing, I get better and better, and I can see places in my life that I've definitely put better boundaries in, but there's so much room for improvement, and I think I do need to sit with myself and look at like, right, where can I put those boundaries in life, because my clients do message me at any time, and sometimes I do ignore them at certain points, but other times you feel like, oh, I'm there replying to them on a even first thing on a Sunday morning or a Saturday evening, and you're like, how is that good for anyone really? And then I was thinking about how I think from an early age we are taught at school to say yes, 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 and to do exactly what we're told. And I can see in my children they're very similar to me in that they're terrified of getting into trouble, which means they will say yes to things that they are very uncomfortable with saying yes to. So it's that I need to go away and consider, how can I make sure that my children know that they can feel confident and comfortable saying no to something that might get them in trouble, but actually that's better than doing something that they don't feel comfortable doing.
Cool. Thank you. What would be mine? I'm just laughing because as much as I don't mind putting boundaries up, I'm a nightmare for breaking boundaries. I will break boundaries so much and stuff. So it's almost like a contradiction in terms. I would say to someone who's struggling to put themselves first, I would say take a moment to understand what's going on. Just take a moment, because once you've noticed it, I think that's like your first level of awareness. It's like take a moment and just understand what's going on. Like understand what is it, like at what point do you feel that you're giving more than others or sacrificing yourself. And then the second thing I'd say is understand the pattern. The pattern, I think, is so important, because once you know the pattern, you can interrupt it. If you don't know what the pattern is, then more than likely you're just going to keep on just going and going and going and tripping over and over and over again. But if you know that when you walk into somewhere public, you get nervous, and then if somebody comes and speaks to you, then you give them everything, maybe all your information, then it's more about, okay, so how do I show up in these places again in a way that doesn't betray, my boundaries and stuff, so to speak. So it's like, first of all, take a moment, understand what's going on. Secondly, understand the pattern. Right? Until next week. It's a good one. Thank you so much.
Thank you.
Have a good one. Take care.
Bye, everyone. Have a good weekend. Bye-bye.
Bye.